All right, everybody. We are coming at you live after a disappointing Sox Yankees game 2, game 3 tomorrow. Got to bounce right back. We'll talk a little bit about our instant reactions to being baseball fans again, playoff baseball fans again. Then we're going to hit on a couple of training camp notes and then get into our most interesting Celtics player for the upcoming season. We each chose one, and then we're also going to look outside of the Celtics here, and we're going to choose a team/player that we are interested in. We'll continue to do this throughout. But Scream with Envy, we're live. Post Sox Yanks. Let's hang out and get through this one together. Scream with Envy. Let's lock in. What up, what up, what up? Welcome into another edition of Green with Envy. As always, this is your boy Will. We're checking in. How you doing? How you living? Joining me as he does each and every time, my best friend, co-host, and the coach of our podcast, the one and only Greg Manakis. Greg, we're back to being baseball fans again. 2 nights in a row, 2 dramatic endings in the Bronx. Game 1 goes the Sox way. Game 2, not so much. Aside from the result, obviously, how does it feel to throw yourself back into the middle of some real heated and contested baseball action, specifically Red Sox Yankees?
Yeah, I needed it to be Red Sox Yankees for me to really get back into the mood. I haven't been following I've been following the Red Sox, but I don't have access to watch any of the games. So I've only watched a total, I'd probably say a less than total of 50 innings all year. I tune in here and there where I can on a stream somewhere. I watched a game, half of a game with my dad back in Boston, but this has been so much fun just to feel excited about the Red Sox again, because I haven't felt excited about them since they traded Mookie Betts. That really bothered me when we did that. So the fact that we have all of these young pitchers. We have Crochet, who was amazing yesterday. It sucks Roman Anthony's not playing, but we have all these guys that are fun to root for. And I had to wear my my wicked big Sox fan shirt, and just rep from back in the day, because Red Sox were always my number one team until the Celtics just stole my heart.
Joe, know what's funny is I was listening to the most recent Ryan Russillo podcast, and he opened it talking about the Sox Yankees from last night. So it was the podcast that came out before this game, and he was talking about how, and he's talked before about how he used to be so into baseball. It's very similar, I think, to our journey of baseball is life or death. I'm showing up at your house before school when we're in, middle school, high school, and we're reading. This is where part of our old gimmick of the morning box score comes from. And we're looking at literally it's not just the Celtics, it was the Red Sox too. And specifically that was back when Hanley Ramirez was a prospect. I remember digging through the Globe to try to find notes on what was Hanley Ramirez doing, right, in Pawtucket, because it wasn't just as readily available. And it was that real sicko diehard baseball atmosphere that Boston was that we did experience. And I don't think it's the same way now for kids that are in middle school and in high school now. I don't think it's that way, but that's what it still was for our generation. We're probably one of the last generations. I don't know what year that exactly switches from, but he was talking about kind of what you're referencing here, where right now you got your wicked Red Sox shirt on, right? Like all the ones that we used to get, all the fans that we were you pink hats, that, I think that's what they were, the fair weather fans. And that's totally us now. Right. This year I happened to, as the Sox were getting good, I happened to have a little bit more free time, because with my daughter being born, it just kind of lined up where I wasn't working. And so I'm just kind of hanging out. As you know, with little kids, there's not really a ton that you can do. So I had a little bit of time to just throw the game on in the background or on my phone or on my laptop, whatever. And so I did really, probably for the first time, much like you, since the Mookie year, get into this team. I've actually watched more baseball this year than I have in a long time. And even my wife at one point was so I'm assuming the Red Sox are good because you've watched a lot more baseball than us. I was yeah, they're kind of good this year. So,
I'm getting into what I like about it now that I'm tuning in is the games are just they're going to be 2.5 to 3 hours versus when we were younger, tuning into Red Sox Yankees. It was a 5-hour affair. So
there was one year where the average time was 4.5 hours for a game. Yeah, average. And it was without extra innings. That was just how long the 9-inning games were.
Right. So it's just fun to see this like kind of new era of baseball. As someone who like really hasn't watched baseball that much in the past like 5 years, to tune back in and really be locked in. Cause living down here in Austin, we went to all the Sox Astros games
Yep.
when the Sox were playing the Astros in Houston. And the game has changed a lot since then. And that was when it was like starting to change. But now even the wild card, I had no idea it was all 3 games in New York. Like
I
I just
I
assumed we were
mean,
gonna have one
dude,
game in Boston.
I've been following the season, and but when we were leaving our rec game last week, me and our guy Matt Liptak, friend of the show, who's a Yankees fan, we were talking about some of the scenarios, and we were like, "Do you know when the playoffs start?" This is last week. We were like,
Yeah.
"I don't even know when it starts. Like, I don't know how it works," and like I've had to figure it a lot out on the fly, and so we are very much now like the pink hats, kind of like flying in, but as like an adult, thinking back again as a kid, where I was like, man, fuck those pink hats. Like they just don't get the intensity, they don't get the passion. I'm like, dude, there's 162 of these. It goes 6 months. I shout out to you people that cover the Red Sox here and do podcasts on the Red Sox and do all that. Like, I think it's exhausting doing it for half the amount of games with a lot of days off in between where we don't have to cover anything. Like, I can't imagine what it would. What do you say of when you play 7
Yeah.
a week?
But hey,
It's
you know what?
160. What do you
We
say?
don't have to talk about 162 games, man. These 2 games were just
Yeah.
a hell of a lot of fun. And the game tonight, even though the Yankees won, which sucked, and we can talk about what it's going to look like tomorrow for game 3 with the bullpen overtaxed, Chapman having warmed up twice and having thrown 20 something pitches the night before, Whitlock threw 47 pitches. Like
Yeah.
tomorrow's going to be tomorrow's problem, right? Cora was going all in for this game, but there were just so many fun moments over the last 2 nights. And the most exciting play of the game, unfortunately, was when Chisholm took off on the 3-2 line drive down the right field line, takes an unfortunate bounce for the Red Sox. They don't have Abreu in right field, which I don't really understand why he wasn't in the game for defensive purposes at
Yeah,
that
I don't
point.
either. I will say
The
this,
throw
he
was
made a
great
good
though.
throw. The throw was
Throw
great.
was
Like,
great.
so
Yeah.
that's because that was my first thought. We in our group chat too was like Abreu, that like he's known for his arm. Literally a week ago, he threw a guy out at first base on a single. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like that's the type of arm that we're talking about. So maybe that makes the like again, this is the part of baseball that's so great, and it makes it different from basketball in the sense where you can literally whittle it down to these little moments. Like in basketball, there's so many things that happen outside of it that you're like, yeah, we can bring it up and it's part of it, but there's like these little things that are super hyper specific. Like obviously Duran dropping the fly ball, which was
Yeah.
catchable, not the easiest play in the world, but
He should
also
have caught that.
for a professional, you should catch it. Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Like them giving Judge a single is just juicing his, playoff stats, but whatever, home cooking. It is what it is. But there's that moment. And then like, we were talking, I still can't get over the base running mistake of Eaton. Like that to
Mhm.
me was it's like there's 2 outs. You got to be turning that corner so hard. And in the third base coach is at fault for this too. Because if you look at the reverse angle they showed, he's kind of holding him up. He's kind of like, you got to be hitting that so hard. Like think about that. That ball was hit hard enough that it's going to be a tough play, even if he knocked it down. That
Mhm.
for the first baseman to throw you back out at third, if you need to, like that's a long throw across the diamond, right? Like
Yeah.
you got to be
For a
going
guy with
hard
speed.
and yeah, for a guy with speed. And I joke that as a pink hat, I thought Eaton was a different Eaton up until about a week ago. I actually looked it up right before we came on here. There was a guy named Adam Eaton. Let's see, I think he's
That's a
been
while
out of
back.
baseball.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's been out of baseball since 2021.
Yeah.
And majority of his career is like 2012 to about like 2020. But that's who I thought this Eaton was for quite a while. So,
But I mean, that shows you the last time we were locked into baseball is Adam Eaton was still in the league.
Exactly. So I found that out, a week or 2 ago, whatever. But yeah, like it's just these little things, and I think it's what's really cool about playoff baseball is every single pitch. Just it really matters so much more, and it's so different than that 162 I was referencing.
Oh, dude,
I was it's a
literally
Tuesday night in May. What do I care?
on the edge of my seat for both games. Like
Yeah.
every single pitch, I was locked in like I was a little kid, and it was just really fun to root for the Red Sox again. Like when was it Story hit the home run tonight, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so like when Story went deep, I was in my kitchen making a sandwich, and Danielle was like, I think she was like doing her nails or something on the couch, and I was like arms up in the air, like full, just Gary Bertier, just like let's go, like I can't believe I was like yelling out loud and like pumping my fists in the air for a Red Sox moment, which I haven't had in years, and as someone who once almost got kicked out of a Red Sox game in Houston for heckling the players. I definitely still have it in me, which was fun to see.
Yeah, man, I love when baseball's good like this, and when you can, especially when you can embrace the Red Sox specifically like this. So I've loved these last two nights, even though tonight, like you said, obviously didn't go the Sox way, and tomorrow, like you said, tomorrow's gonna be tomorrow's problem. We'll see. And the thing is, the Yankees aren't far off from being in the same predicament. They're throwing a young rookie just like we are.
Mm-hmm.
Their bullpen's not great. Our two best bullpen guys are probably pretty taxed, so it's maybe kind of a wash. And honestly, I think it's a complete crapshoot.
Totally looked good out there.
What happened?
Totally looked really good. He threw 5 strikes.
Dude, Totally is hilarious looking. He cracks me. He looks like Wario out there.
Yeah. By the way, whose wife was it that wife that yelled at me at the Red Sox?
It's Kelly Pedroia. I don't know how you can ever forget that. It's Kelly Pedroia.
Yeah. That was so funny. Where the security had to come over and like my sister had to intervene. So
your sister was basically security. She was like, "Sit down and shut the fuck up."
I wasn't even being that bad.
For those listening, like, first of all, this is our own family, friends and family section that we're kind of in, as we've talked about. Greg's family used to work for the Red Sox, and literally we were just cheering. Like, we were standing up, but we were just like cheering for the Red Sox. And when we say heckling, this isn't a Kyrie Irving throwing a bottle situation. This isn't like, taking it too far. It's like literally standing and cheering.
Like saying, "Let's go Red Sox." And just like cheering for the guys. And there was this like old man, because we were standing like the whole game. This old man reaches behind me and tries to like literally forcefully push me into my seat. And I was just like, "Buddy, don't touch me. Like, are you fucking kidding me? Get your hands off me." And then Kelly Pedroia had to like yell for security, blaming me for it, which was crazy. My sister had to come and like keep us in the ballpark. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, she was not pleased. That was that was fun night, not for Steph, but that was a fun night for us. But baseball, it's been fun. Game 3 tomorrow. Anything that any player, any in general, just from the Sox that you've watched these last two nights that you're like, man, I think that's my new guy. Is there
I felt this way the whole year. Anytime I tune in, I find myself wanting to watch Rafaela. I think Rafaela is like,
dude,
he gives me so many Mookie vibes. I know he's nowhere near the player Mookie is, but that bunt was bad.
The bunt was bad, but I thought that the last out he made, I thought for a game, it brought me back for a second, because he went down 0-2 pretty badly in that at bat, and I was like, he's a little bit of a free swinger, right? That's one of his biggest issues. And they've talked about, like, he's got like I think 3 walks in the last 2 nights, which is like he had like 14 walks in 150 games. He's electric though. You're right. He's not Mookie. I think he's somewhere between Mookie and JBJ with the electricity shifting towards Mookie. Like, that's probably like where he's at. But he's been super clutch this year. Obviously, he hit the triple that sent the Red Sox to the playoffs, a couple days ago. And I really thought for a brief second he got a hold of that one and we were going to be tied up and get Chapman back out there. But not meant to be. All good. Game 3 tomorrow. Crapshoot. Couple of rookies going at it. We'll see what happens.
And as my dad said, Connolly Early is the next Clayton Kershaw. So maybe we'll see that tomorrow night.
How much of that is he's just a white guy with like a blonde flow that kind of comes out of his back of his hat? Just very
95%.
Yeah. Okay. That's got to be it. So yeah, that as soon as you said that to me, I was like, it's got to be just a look thing. Like, that's 100% what it is. But hey, if he performs tomorrow, I'm on board. I'm on the Kershaw comp train, and we'll ride that until we can't no more. So we'll see what happens. Just for those of you listening right now, we're going to be trying to get back into a little bit of a rhythm here. Likely you're going to see episodes dropping probably Sunday, Wednesday. It might be Monday, Wednesday for next week, so we can check out Pat's Bills and comment on that a little bit too. But especially as we get closer to the season, likely we're going to on a Sunday, Wednesday schedule here. So by the time we podcast again after this, either we'll be talking about what happened in the Sox advancing to the ALDS to play the Blue Jays, or maybe we'll give a quick farewell to our baseball experience this year that lasted 3 days.
Well, we'll be able to talk about the Patriots and Drake May going up, Sunday night against the Bills. So our next podcast, we'll talk a little Patriots as well. We're a Celtics podcast, but we're aside from the Bruins, because we don't watch hockey, we're big, just all Boston sports fans. And we can say that again because we're now Red Sox fans again. They've won us back.
And Patriots fans. Like we actually watched, the Patriots game together this past weekend, right? Like we're actually like,
I mean, how much did we watch of it though? We were just,
we didn't watch a ton because it got out of hand.
Yeah.
It got out of hand pretty quickly, and we were watching the kids, and my dad was in town and stuff. But even so, the fact that we even bothered to attempt to have it on, like, that says that we're like at least trying to like be better fans with it. So that's exciting.
While keeping our wives happy.
Exactly. Hey, we're Renaissance men. We do it all. But Celtics training camp underway now. A couple of quick notes, and then we're going to get to a new gimmick that we'll do here over the next couple of podcasts. But Greg, I don't know if you saw a little bit of Al Horford. Obviously, we talked a bit about him signing with the Warriors. Some videos came out. He did his press conference and everything today. Rocket number 20 looks weird. Saw him shooting around, and it as much as I was saying last podcast, I'm on board. Go for it, Al. I got no issues going to the Warriors. I didn't like seeing Al shooting threes, rocking number 20 for the Warriors. Nothing against the Warriors. It just felt weird, right? Like,
did he talk about why he chose 20?
I didn't see anything about why he chose 20. He talked about how he never thought about retiring, how basically like the only reason he would ever leave Boston is if there was like, an opportunity to be on like a team like the Warriors and their pedigree and all. He said all the right things. He's Al. He's the most professional dude out there. So he said everything right. But that was one thing that I saw. And then Sam Cassell had a quote where, and I don't know how true this is. We're one day into training camp, but it's the hardest training camp that he's ever seen a team go through. So
they're playing spike ball. We know how hard it is to play spike ball.
Yeah, exactly. So I can't wait to see what Missoula has cooked up. So I'm sure between now and the next time we podcast, we're going to get a bunch of these little anecdotes that come out. But it seems like training camp is going to be a place where we're going to learn a lot about, what this team is, what they're looking to be. Again, we talked about that up tempo. So we'll have to keep an eye out. We'll have some more news and notes that we'll get into as the week goes on before we hit the first preseason game. But did you have anything else that you wanted to bring up here, Greg, before we get into our gimmick?
Well, we got an update about the 5 in, 5 out, where Joe Mazzulla said that Jordan Walsh was just messing with everybody. I called that on the last pod.
Well,
like, there's no way they're actually going to do that. So I'm glad that I was able to recognize that was complete bullshit. So I already got my finger on the pulse of what's going on from afar.
There we go. That's perfect. Good job. Because I'd only seen it in print, and I was like, this sounds awful. Like, I just am calling this out right now. This sounds awful. Glad to know that it was in jest, because that's not really how a professional basketball team should be run on a 5 in, 5 out system. But going forward here, we're going to do a gimmick here where we're going to start with the Celtics, and we're going to go over our most interesting players, or who we find the most interesting going into the season. And then we're going to kind of span this out, and we're going to look at different teams and players, and we're going to do a different team/player for each podcast over the next couple weeks. But we wanted to start with the Celtics here because we are a Celtics podcast, and it's preseason, it's training camp. We don't know what's going to happen. So this is the time for us to bring these thoughts to the forefront. So Greg, I'll defer to you here. Looking at this Celtics roster, and of course, we probably already touched on some of the different players that we're going to talk about here, but who is it that to you find the most interesting, and why?
I'm going to go Payton Pritchard. I think with Payton Pritchard coming off of his 6th man of the year performance last year, getting elevated into a role where he might be the starting point guard. But as he said, when one of my favorite quotes from the entire media day, he was like, the spark happens when my feet hit the floor. Like, that is just so fucking badass that Payton Pritchard was like, listen, I am the spark. Like, I'm the one who knocks Walter White shit. And it was just really cool to kind of see him already have that confidence. Also seems to be growing the hair out a little bit. You notice that? I got a little bit more on top there, maybe going for a little bit of a new look. But he's just one of those guys, man, that I've always been super high on. And I've always wanted for him to get an elevated role. And there was an argument that he was just better than Drew Holiday for a majority of last season, right? Drew Holiday ended up being the guy that Joe Mazzulla relied on when it really mattered. But there were plenty of times where he didn't go to Drew Holiday and he decided Payton Pritchard's a better player tonight. I'm going to keep him on the floor, right? So when you think about I'm trying to talk myself into the Celtics potentially being like an Eastern Conference semifinals, Eastern Conference finals team. And one of the things that I keep coming back to is, they did it without Porzingis last year in the playoffs. They pretty much kind of did it without Drew because Drew wasn't very good.
Mhm.
And like Peyton Pritchard was such an important part of that team. So elevating him, taking Drew out of there, maybe there's not as much of a drop off as everyone thinks there could be. And then when you put Simons into the Pritchard role, I think Simons can do a lot of what Pritchard did last year, but just do it in a different way. So I'm really excited about Peyton Pritchard. I've always made the Fred VanVleet comparison, and I think it's Fred VanVleet goes down. Bill Simmons, Zach Lowe talk about Peyton Pritchard being a guy that could get traded to Houston. Will, what did I text you at 5 a.m. the day after we potted? What did
that
I
you were
text
thinking
you?
about you were thinking
This
about a
was
Peyton
before
Pritchard to
the
Houston trade.
this
Yeah.
was before the Bill Simmons, Zach Lowe pod. And I texted Will. I said, dude, I almost went on the pod and started talking about Peyton Pritchard to Houston to fill in for Fred VanVleet. But I was like, I thought it was too spicy. And then lo and behold, Simmons and Lowe come
I
out and
mean,
say that
okay,
later that night.
we're here. Let's talk about it. What would be the deal that would get you excited to actually do that?
Probably Reed Shepherd and Tari Eason, something like that. I think we'd
Okay, yeah,
need.
which
Yeah.
feels like a big overpay for Houston. So yes,
Yeah.
that would be great because that was my one thing was like looking at Peyton Pritchard versus Reed Shepherd, and like yes, Reed Shepherd was the third pick 2 years ago. Pretty weak draft for him. Like so, the third pick cachet, like Jaylen Brown was the third pick, Jason Tatum was the third pick. I don't
Mhm.
think Reed Shepherd has the third pick level aura that is that can sometimes come along with it. Now we don't really know. It's kind of still an unknown, but yeah, like Reed Shepherd for Peyton Pritchard straight up, I think is like like there's like salary wise, it kind of works, but it's like Peyton Pritchard, we already know what he is, right?
Right.
Like
Like
Reed
there's a world
Shepherd.
in which Reed Shepherd never even comes close to what Peyton Pritchard is right now.
Exactly. And even if he shows potential, now you're in this weird place where because he's young in the third pick, you feel like, oh, he's shown enough potential that now we got to pay him,
Mhm.
representative to his age and his draft pick status, where, Peyton Pritchard's already on the books for the next 3 years. And even if Peyton continues to ascend, he's then going to be around 30 years old. Like him going from his like $8-9 million salary now to like 20 million or 25, you know what I mean? Like it's going to be a smaller leap because of his age anyways, whereas Reed, it's like I don't know, there's too many unknowns. So in your scenario where Tari Eason comes along, yeah,
Mhm.
no doubt about it, I would still
Yeah,
do
yeah.
it. Like in my head I was like, this is for me, I would be more willing to consider a Peyton Pritchard for like Tari Eason and I don't know, either other salary or a protected draft pick or something. Like that would actually make me more excited only because I just think Eason is a guy that would, thinking again, when Tatum comes back, like he would fit on this team
Oh,
so
dude.
perfect. Like
Yeah.
for
Tari Eason, Derek White, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum is a fucking menace of
right.
a defensive lineup.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's something that's where my head went to. So glad to hear because like in my head, I was like, Reed for Peyton straight up. It's weird to say for the third pick 2 years ago that I'm like, that's not enough for Peyton Pritchard, right? But
Yeah.
then like
Peyton
in a
Pritchard
weird
has
way, I think it's
become
kind of
a
true.
known commodity in this league, and that's why he's my most interesting guy, man. Like, I think with a starting role, Peyton Pritchard could very easily reach that Fred VanVleet potential that I
Mhm.
called out a couple years ago. Like, I don't he's so talented. And when anybody speaks of Peyton Pritchard, they're always like, man, Peyton is like a beast. Like Drew Holiday last year was like, Peyton's the hardest guy to guard. Like
Yeah.
he's so goddamn difficult to play one-on-one. He's got all the tricks. It seemed like last year, I was calling out, he started to play off of 2 feet in the paint. He started to do some of that Jalen Brunson shit in the paint. And I just think they're like, I really think he can elevate to a point where he's in the running for like fringe all-star, kind of what Derek White became a couple of years ago, where everyone's like, damn, like
Mhm.
Derek White might be an all-star candidate here, where before then no one was talking about Derek White as an all-star, right? I think Peyton Pritchard, I doubt he ever gets to all-star status, but he's going to be one of those guys that's mentioned as like, should maybe Peyton Pritchard get a couple votes here?
Yeah, I mean, Fred VanVleet did get there. He does have an all-star on his resume. But I did see a tweet that I want, some stats via Twitter that I wanted to bring up here from Trey at TA1297 had this, and it was Payton Pritchard's stats per 75 possessions last year with Tatum on the court and then without Tatum on the court. With Tatum on the court
can I guess?
Yeah. So it's remember it's per 75, so it's going to be obviously skewed a little bit.
I'm just going to guess like what he was better with Tatum on the court.
He was actually better without Tatum on the court.
Interesting.
Which is the surprising part. So here's the breakdown. So with Tatum on the court, it was 15 points, 4.5 assists, 5.2 rebounds. True shooting was right around 60%, about 37% from three, and about 74% at the rim. Without Tatum, it would have been 21.2 points, 5.9 assists, 5.4 rebounds, little higher turnover ratio, which makes sense, handling the ball more. True shooting actually up to about 63.5%. Free throw attempts slightly down. 3-point percentage up at 42.5%. So a pretty big increase there. And then about the same at the rim, 2% better. But just the fact that, to your point, like I would have assumed that those numbers would take a little bit of a dip, or at least the efficiency would be less, but to see them, increase again, we'll see. The defenses and teams are going to be game planning for him a lot differently this year than they have in years past, regardless of, Tatum being on the court or off the court. But seeing those numbers, like, it does make you think, and it makes you really excited to see what Pritchard's going to bring. And I think we'll probably do this at some point this offseason, like try to guess the all-star rosters or something before the season starts. I think I've done this exercise in my head a little bit. There's just too many guards probably that are going to be equal or higher level than Pritchard for him to get there. But to your point, him being in that mix, I think it's fully in play. Like I've already said, I think the Celtics are going to have at least 3 guys average 20 points per game this year. And I think it's a high likelihood that he's going to be one of them.
Yeah, because you got Brunson, LaMelo's going to get the fan vote, and he could have a heck of a year.
Donovan Mitchell,
Darius
Garland.
Yeah. There's a lot of guys.
Maxey.
Yep.
Yeah. So there's a lot of guys in there that's going to take for. I mean, even Derek White's in that mix too, right? Like Derek White's going to be a part of that, and he's already got like 2 to 3 years of equity of like, hey, is he an all-star? Is he not an all-star? So it's going to be tough for Pritchard to get the nod, but I'm with you. I do think Pritchard is going to be one of the most interesting guys this season. For me, and honestly, my pick here might flame out pretty quickly, but I think I'm excited about the unknown. Like last year, we went into a year where I've never known more about a team going in. Right. I knew every single thing, every single beat and rhythm to this team, literally not like a difference from the year before. And it led to honestly like a bit of a malaise where even you and I were just like, I was like, I want to you could tell I was like, even like putting on a bit of a facade of like, I'm worked up, Greg. Can't believe we lost to the Pelicans or we lost to the Rockets on that turnover at the end of the game. It's like, yeah, but we just won championship. It's the same exact roster. And like, we've seen stretches and like,
I'm not tripping because Fima, Luke, and O'Shea Brissett aren't on the team.
Exactly. It was like, what are we going to, right. It's the same team. And like, it hit a point where for a second we could have got concerned. Then they kind of actually looked like themselves. And, it didn't work out. But at the end of the day, it was like, that was most of last season. This year, there's just so many unknowns, and we're going to talk about the front court constantly. So I could go Neemias Queta, but we've spent a bunch of time on Neemias, and I think I know what I'm hoping to see, and I have some level of expectations. A guy I have no expectations for, and I think he's the one guy that could potentially crack into that big man rotation is Luka Garza, right? Like Amari Williams, I think is cool. I love the highlights. You can't name many second round picks that come in and all of a sudden they're playing rotation minutes. Like it just doesn't happen very often, or if it does, it's much later in the season. Takes a while to build up. Luka Garza is a guy that's like, hey, this is your shot, man. Like you've never played. I think his rookie year he averaged over 10 minutes per game. That hasn't been the case since. Oh, what up, Billy? But he's a guy where there's some pedigree based off, what he did in college. And, it seems like there could still be something there. But this is the last chance, right? Like you made me think a lot last episode when talking about for Xavier Tillman, either he's playing major rotation minutes or he's probably out of the league, right? Like Luka Garza is in that same boat, and he's roughly the same age as Xavier Tillman. So it's kind of the same thing where it's like, this is your opportunity. Like you're never going to have a better opportunity than right now, because if you don't show it and you can't be a part of a big man rotation with Nemias Queta and Xavier Tillman and maybe Amari Williams. Like, I don't even know like where, like, and is there another big that I'm missing? That's Boucher, I guess, is in this mix too, technically, as a big. Like, if you can't find a role for yourself, then it's just never gonna happen. But he's the guy where like Tillman, I think Tillman, I'm being swayed by the early season comments that Tillman's gonna be more of a contributor than what I had remembered. But we know who Tillman is. Even at his, even if he gets back to a certain status, like Tillman has kind of shown, I don't think he's gonna blow you away all of a sudden and do something. Where Luka, it's just like, hey, maybe this is the guy who hasn't had the opportunity playing in Detroit and then coming from Minnesota, where they have a logjam of big men, right? Like, you had to get through Rudy Gobert, Naz Reid, Julius Randle, Karl-Anthony Towns the last couple of years. There's no chance that they're like, hey, maybe we give Luka a look, right? So I'm intrigued to see if there's anything there, because for the Celtics, again, in the world that you described of, can they make a semifinals run, a dark horse, Eastern Conference Finals run? Someone in the front court's got to, there's got to be something there. There's got to be something tangible there, and Luka Garza is the most outside chance candidate for that to be the case. So I'm excited just to see what happens with him, because that's the guy that you have to look to for an unexpected turn in the front court. Is going to be Luka Garza is something that none of us can really predict right now.
Yeah, right now it seems like he's the fourth big, just behind Queta, Tillman, and Boucher, right? If we're calling Boucher a big, which I think we should. He's like a big, really big wing, undersized big man. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I honestly couldn't tell you what Luka Garza does on a basketball court, how he gets his points. Like, and I don't really know his game at all, haven't dove into the tape. The way you're describing him, it sounds like you're trying to create some sort of like Payton Pritchard behind the Malcolm Brogdon, Derek White, Marcus Smart backcourt, right? Where like he's talented, but he's never going to get a chance to play with those guys in front of him. If he can't get on the court when it's Tillman, Queta, and Boucher in front of him, like you said, it's just never going to happen for the guy. So I'm excited to see if he's got anything. Like, I really don't know. I know
that's what I'm saying. That's why this pick might flame out by the end of preseason. Yeah. This might be a watch for preseason, and then it just doesn't happen. But again, if I'm going to talk myself into the Celtics mattering in any type of consequential way, especially if I want to wrap myself up into the, hey, is Tatum going to come back in February and March talk? Like, I need desperately something like a drip of water in the Sahara Desert to hang on to in the front court.
Do you know how tall Luka Garza is? Alex, you got that for me?
I think he might be like 6'10". Let me see here. I can look it up here real quick. Yeah, he's 6'10".
Okay. I'm wondering if there's like, could I talk myself into believing Luka Garza could make me think of Alperen Şengün this year? Like, you know what I mean? Like, maybe there's a time where like Tommy Heinsohn comparing Greg Steamsman to Bill Russell. Maybe I have a moment like that with our guy.
Yeah, so we'll see. And, there's obviously a lot of intriguing parts of the Celtics that we will get into here as we go throughout preseason training camp and into the regular season. But with that, we're also going to be looking at other teams outside of the Celtics. So the way that we're going to do this here, we're probably going to choose one team each here over the next couple of podcasts that are intriguing to us. So, Greg, I think the way that we want to do this is either tell us the team and player, and then why they interest you.
Right, exactly. So I'm gonna go Milwaukee Bucks, Myles Turner, new addition. Myles Turner had a quote today where he was like, "Go where you're appreciated," like that. I guess he didn't feel appreciated in Indiana, which makes sense because they were always trying to trade him. Right, he ended up being on that team for like a decade, but his name every single year was brought up in trade rumors. Right, so he goes to the Milwaukee Bucks, and I was actually talking with a Bucks fan in my office today. And we were just discussing, a world in which the Bucks make it to the finals. And when you look around the Eastern Conference, right? Previously, every team is like, we got to be able to contend with the Celtics. We need to build a roster that's going to be able to get through Boston. Boston's not there this year, right? So when you look at the other teams that you're going to have to get through, in my opinion, it's New York and Cleveland, right? Maybe you could make an argument for Orlando. So what do those teams have? They have size, right? Both teams have big guys in the front court. The Magic have 3 6'10" guys that they start in their front court. So how are you going to support Giannis with an athletic enough big man who can also do some stuff that Brook Lopez used to do? And Myles Turner fits that mold, right? So they already have what they need to compete against the other strengths within the Eastern Conference. Now, obviously, those teams like the Knicks and the Cavs also have dynamic playmakers, which the Bucks currently do not have. But Myles Turner, I think, does at least check off one of those boxes. If we need to get through these teams, Bucks need to get through the Knicks. Bucks need to get through the Cavs. We at least have the front court to compete.
Yeah, I've long been a Myles Turner fan. Obviously, I've talked before. I worked at the University of Texas when he was playing there, and I was so upset watching them every single night and how much Rick Barnes could not run a pick and roll with him. And he had a point guard at the time named Isaiah Taylor, who was a perfect, like, fast point guard that could get downhill, and Myles could pop. And I think they in total ran like 12 pick and rolls the entire season.
Like literally,
I remember
it was like some number that you couldn't believe how little.
I remember I still remember this. I was driving in my car on my lunch break like the next year, and I was listening to local sports talk radio, and they were like, yeah, Myles Turner, now with the Pacers after being drafted like 10th or 11th, in summer league, he's run 74 pick and rolls and he has great numbers. I was like, oh my God, all season I sat in the stands waiting for Rick Barnes to do this. And, and because of that, I've always liked his game. And then even when there was the Gordon Hayward potential, I was very big on like, Danny fucked this up if he did not try to, if we were going to lose Gordon Hayward, we could have got Myles Turner back. Like that would have been a fantastic move for us. I was very, very high on that. This Bucks team, I think is going to be bad. Regardless of how good Giannis is, I think this Bucks team is going to be terrible. Like, I just really do. Like, of course, Giannis is going to keep them afloat. I was just checking how many games a year Giannis typically plays. Played 67 last year, 73 the year before. Giannis is generally pretty healthy, but between those 63 to 70 games that he's going to play, if he's missing 12 to 18 games, like, this team does not have a point guard. Like, to your point of, like, you mentioned they don't have creation, like Cole Anthony is the closest thing to a point guard. Kevin Porter Jr., I believe, is named their starting point guard. Like, those are not NBA starting point guards. They're just not. They're not even really all that close, if I'm being 100% honest. And so, yes, you can run point Giannis, but you can't run Giannis out there for the entire game doing that. Like, he's going to have to go to the bench. He's going to have to miss a couple games. And so at those times, this is one of the worst rosters in the league if you remove Giannis. Like, Giannis is that great that he can still bring them to middle of the pack, I don't know, 12th, 13th best, whatever roster. You take him off, they are in the late 20s. I
can't believe they haven't taken a shot at Russell Westbrook. Honestly, like, that's how bad their guard situation is, dude. Like, these are the guys that potentially could be in a closing lineup for them. Cole Anthony, Amir Coffey, who said, he's a decent offensive player. AJ Green, who all he does is shoot, right? He can shoot. He's a good, decently, I think, underrated defender. Gary Harris, who hasn't been good since he was on Denver. Let's see. Kevin Porter Jr. will be in there. Taurean Prince, we've done that. He's not that guy. Gary Trent Jr.
He can have a moment. He can have a moment. It's fine. You're not relying on him. Good look. Right, Kyle Kuzma. That's the only other person.
I was expecting it to get better at some point. And I was like, no,
dude, it's terrible. I think their roster is so bad. Like, I don't think people are I will give Giannis all the love in the world. I still think Giannis is the second best player in the world right now. Like, I still think that. I think this team is going to be right with the Celtics. Like, I'm gonna be honest. Like, my expectation for the Celtics is that they're very firmly in that 7, 8, 9 range. I think that's where the Bucks are too. I think the Bucks are going to be right there. And if Giannis misses any mini extended amount of time, they're sinking way below that. Like, that's what I'm looking at. Yeah, the games Giannis is going to miss, even if he's healthy and misses 12 games. I don't see, unless he happens to only miss games against the Wizards and the Jazz. Like, I don't see how this team doesn't go 1-10 in 11 games. because
Right.
it's that bad of a roster.
I
And
mean,
so
their whole hope is that it's Giannis with a bunch of shooters around them, right? Like
mhm,
that's what Myles Turner is supposed to add there. But like even the shooters that they have aren't great shooters other than AJ Green. AJ Green is a knockdown
right.
shooter. Like Gary Harris has proven to be not a good shooter. Kyle Kuzma can get hot, but he's a very streaky shooter. Kevin Porter Jr. is a creator. He's not a shooter. Gary Trent Jr. can get hot one game like he did in the playoffs, but he's not going to be there when it really matters. You know, there is no Malik Beasley on this
Mhm,
team who was like the best 3-point shooter off the move last year outside of Steph Curry. You know,
right.
like they don't have that guy.
And like I've said, I like Myles Turner. His best 2 years in the league were with Tyrese Halliburton, who's one of the best playmaker creators
Mhm.
in the entire sport and puts a very different type of pressure on your defense that opened up Myles Turner to be able to do more things. We've seen Myles Turner in this, like, with him and Sabonis, like it was okay, right? But you're seeing it all over again with the Kings. Like there's a limit to it. And like with him and Giannis out there, like that's obviously, I think, Giannis is far superior to Sabonis. Although Sabonis is a great kind of hub offensively to kind of work off of, but like that plus then not having a backcourt or like anyone else to, like, we talk about the lack of creation on the Celtics. Good God, lack of creation on this team is, where is it? It's Cole Anthony, it's Kevin
Yeah,
Porter, and that's not good.
it's not
So
great.
I'm worried. I'm worried for Myles Turner and this fit right now. I think it's going to be super clunky. But I like Myles Turner. I like Myles Turner, the player. It's going to be clunky. I think all of the Bucks' decisions have been disasters, and they're just delaying the inevitable that they're going to have to trade Giannis to just reset. So
Agreed.
we'll
All right, who you
see
got?
where that goes. So for me, I think they're in the same division. Divisions are hard to know what they are anymore. I'm not going to look it up because it doesn't really matter. But I'm going to the Detroit Pistons. I think the Pistons are a fascinating team, and my player is Jaden Ivey because I think
Mm,
Jaden Ivey is such a massive swing piece for them. Only played, I think, 30 games last year before getting hurt, but was having an incredibly efficient year. Shot the ball at 40%, which is really important for this team. You mentioned Malik Beasley, no longer there. They did bring in Duncan Robinson, so they still have kind of that spacing on the outside. But Jaden Ivey and Cade Cunningham have the type of potential to be the best backcourt in the NBA. Like that's the potential. I don't
mm,
know if that's ever going to get there, but that's the potential. And if he's actually a reliable 40% shooter that can take some of the ball handling duties off of Cade, because I think you saw like in that Knicks series, like Cade is incredible. I'm a huge Cade fan. There's just too much. It's just him with the ball too much. Like you just
mhm.
need some diversity with it, right? And like they had to rely on like Tim Hardaway and like others
Right.
to try to like get off the ball. And so I think Jaden Ivey coming back in will make such a big difference in the core of them two plus Asar Thompson plus Jalen Duren. Like I love what the Pistons are doing. I think they are the team that I kind of look to where if I'm like, okay, if depending on how seedings break out, it's not going to be Knicks Cavs in the conference finals. And I think Magic are kind of the trendy pick, like you mentioned. Like Pistons are the team I'm looking at it like, if things break right, if they stay healthy, like that's a team that just with natural progression, regardless of what you think of their offseason moves, I think we're relatively neutral. I don't think they were anything crazy. I don't think they were bad, but I don't think they were necessarily like great. But just with natural progression and getting Ivy back, like I think they could
Mhm.
take like a next leap. And Ivy's the key to it all. And I've heard a lot on different podcasts of like if Lauri Markkanen gets moved, that Pistons are a great fit. So that also leaves the opportunity where Ivy could be a trade piece to go get something else. But he's got to be healthy. He's got to produce. And I've liked what I've seen out of Ivy. I know that
Yeah.
second year was super weird, but everything I've seen his rookie year, everything I saw out of him last year before he got hurt, like again, I think him and Cade right there is potential to be the best backcourt in the NBA.
Yeah, I mean, what is the difference between Jaden Ivey at his peak last year and John Morant last year? Like, was there that much of a difference between those two guys? I don't really know that there was. Like, obviously, that accounts for him coming down off of his peak pretty significantly. But in terms of like where Jaden Ivey
One's
stacks up,
trending up, one's trending down.
right, and
That
they're
would
kind
be
of
the
meeting
story.
in the middle in my mind right now, you know what I mean? Like, Jaden Ivey might be the fastest guy in the league with the ball in his hands, like, he's that explosive. I think the hope for drafting him was that he could turn into a John Morant, you know what I mean? Like, he was that fast, and I don't think he has the natural playmaking and passing ability that Ja has, but to your point, he's already proven to be a more effective shooter than Ja. So I would love to see Jaden Ivey reach the potential that, I remember hearing about him back in college because I forget what school he went to, but
He went to Purdue.
yeah, he went to Purdue, and I know Hazard and Townsend, they're big IU guys, and they were like, man, like Jaden Ivey is a fucking beast, dude. Like, what? Like, remember this name? So I started tuning into him a little bit more, and I was really impressed with him, and I think that's a really good pick. He actually had him down next to Detroit Pistons, who are in the Central Division along with the Bucks.
Yeah, it was, and I was debating between him and Asar Thompson. Like both of those guys really.
Yeah, I do. I don't get why everyone is just like Amen Thompson. Like when what was it, Simmons and Lowe, who did the like way too early Olympics thing that we did last year. And they picked Amen Thompson, but they didn't even mention Asar Thompson. I'm like, how do you mention one of them as like, this guy's going to be your starting small forward and not mention his literal fucking twin?
Yeah, and like Amen's gotten more of a chance offensively, and that's the biggest difference between the two right now, right? Is that I think Amen has, from what has been shown, a little bit higher of a offensive potential, but that's where I'm like, maybe Asar also has that. I don't know. Like, I just don't think it's really been, and he's had kind of a weird first 2 years with some health issues and stuff. And so it's been like a little bit more up and down there. Like, and basically his role for the Pistons was just like, just go be a dog on defense. Right. And he basically fouled out of every game they had against the Knicks.
Got crossed into oblivion by Jalen Brunson.
Yeah, that was a tough one. But I probably a little less than his brother, but like, I think Asar Thompson has a chance to be really, really good too. And so, I mean, think about that lineup for the Pistons, right? If you could have Ivey, Cade, and Asar, Duren at the 5, and then you got to find somebody better than Tobias Harris to kind of bridge that gap. That's a fucking lineup right there. Like that's a high potential lineup. Let's leave it at that. Like it's a very high potential lineup, but big on the Pistons, big on seeing where Jaden Ivey ends up here.
All right. Last thing I want to do, we introduced it last week or 2 weeks ago. It's time for everyone's favorite segment, mediocre life updates, and we got to bring in our guy Alex Gonzalez to talk
real quick
about mediocre life.
I'm gonna pledge that by the next time we do this, I'm gonna look online and find some theme music. We need some theme music for this. So I'm gonna take
the most mediocre music you can find.
Yeah, exactly.
What would you guys say is like the most mediocre music that like exists? Or an artist that is like pure mediocrity?
I mean, I'm not
any genre.
I'm not a big country music fan. I went to a Leon Bridges show last week, 2 weeks ago, and I really like Leon Bridges. He's a little bit of like mix of like soul, country, indies, like kind of a combo. But the dude before him was this guy named Charlie Crockett. Never heard of him.
It's great.
All I did was, I think I don't know if I talked about this. Just sat there and made jokes about they call him Charlie Crockett, the cock rocket. That's all I did was just sit there and make that make that.
Wait, and that's what they call him, or that's what you were calling him?
No, I was just joking with my wife about that's I was like, yeah, they call him Charlie Crockett, the cock rocket. This is finishing move. He just whipped out his cock. We were waiting for it. He never did. But I have never heard any of his music before. Like the most country dude, kind of has like a Kermit the Frog sounding voice. It was just like, yeah, I could sit here and listen to this. I could care less. But that was like my definition of like, I didn't hate it, definitely didn't like it, but it was mediocre. So that it fit right in the middle.
I love it. That's great. Okay, Alex, do you want to go first? Do you have something for us?
No, I don't. I don't want to go first. I need to think about this. Okay, I need to prepare something next time.
Well, I mean, if you're preparing too hard, then it's not really mediocre.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
Okay, so I got two.
Lead us off, Greg, here.
Both food related. One, James loves watermelon. And about a decade ago, I discovered that anytime I would eat watermelon, I would get really itchy ears. So I just decided I'm not going to eat watermelon anymore. I'm clearly allergic to it. Same with apples. I only eat apples when they're cooked in pie. That's a rule that I have. I don't eat raw apples. And the other day, I was feeding James watermelon, and it just looked so goddamn good and refreshing. I was like, I'm just going to risk it. If I get an allergic reaction, it's not that bad. It's just my throat gets itchy, my ears get itchy. I'm just going to do it. And I went in, ate the watermelon, no allergic reaction. So I have just been buying watermelon and just eating that shit constantly. And it has been life-changing for me, guys. Like having watermelon back in my life, really making me feel like a new man.
Yeah, watermelon's great, man. once again, this is the most you thing ever to find out that you're not allergic and then you just eat it for a week straight, like overindulge in it. It's the most Greg thing of all time. I have the mediocre update I have is also food related. So should I just piggyback on yours and
go for it.
Well, okay. So Greg, famously, every time I order a sandwich, what do I always ask for? Like a deli sandwich. What's one of the requests that I make?
No tomatoes?
No tomatoes. Times have changed. I've grown up. I've been slacking on the tomato game. I think probably a couple months ago, I decided, you know what? I got to stop asking for no tomatoes. I just got to eat. I just got to man up and start eating these tomatoes. And, I still maintain the tomato should not dominate the sandwich. If the main part of the sandwich is just like the tomato being juicy, it's too much and you're doing it wrong. But if the tomato is sliced properly, I get it. I get it now. I've hand up. I was wrong on the tomato. I owed the tomato an apology. I've actually even been on a little bit of a BLT kick. Tomato very prominently featured in the BLT. It's always been a sandwich that I've always got to look at from the side like, oh, if I just like tomatoes, I could be a BLT guy. Been a big BLT guy over the last couple of months here, adding tomatoes to burgers. If it comes on it, it comes on it. Not picking it off. My wife's mom was here in Mexican cuisine. They add tomatoes to a lot of stuff. Usually I would just leave it off. Now, let's throw it in. Open up the tortilla. Let's throw it in. Let's rock with it. Tomatoes. That's my mediocre life update. I'm becoming more of an adult in on tomatoes.
All right, you get the segment now. You get it. We're really rolling here. One thing I highly recommend going to Sprouts or just go to a farmer's market. Grab some heirloom tomatoes. Don't get the beefsteak tomatoes.
Yeah,
make sure you're getting heirloom tomatoes, and it will change your life. If you like the regular tomatoes that you're getting on sandwiches right now and burgers, if you make yourself, ask Lorena to make you a BLT with an heirloom tomato, you will literally eat that every day for breakfast for the rest of your life.
Heirloom tomatoes. Duly noted. Alex, what do you got for us to round out this rousing edition of Media?
I'm going to do the food thing too. We're just going to piggyback off the food. Yeah, I mean, I'm a huge tomato guy, so I don't really understand why people don't like tomatoes, but that's another point.
I don't get it anymore either, man. I don't either.
I go to this place by my work and at least twice a week, and I get the same order, which is a Philly cheesesteak and like a drink.
Let's go.
And it always comes with mayo, and I don't like mayo. So I usually request to take it off. But recently I've just been like, leave it on there. And it actually makes the sandwich so much better. So now I refuse to take the mayo off, and I keep it on, and it's made my lunches more. It made my experience eating the Philly cheesesteak better than without the mayo before. So
I feel like that. I don't know this to be a fact, but I feel like mayo on a Philly cheesesteak is somewhat controversial. I feel like I've seen that out there before, but I know it. I haven't had a Philly cheesesteak in kind of a while, I think. But I know at one point. I know. Listen, I love Philly. Dude, believe me. But the metabolism ain't here, man. I looked at myself and I was holding Mariana in the mirror before I was about to give her a bath tonight. Caught myself at a bad angle. It wasn't good. It wasn't good. There's a reason I haven't had a Philly cheesesteak in a while. But
so Alex, in Boston,
mayo is very good on Philly cheesesteak.
Yeah, in Boston they're just called steak and cheeses.
Okay.
So we just called a steak and cheese sub. So steak and cheese, a go-to for me. I used to be anti-mayo. Like anything that had mayo on it, I was like, get that shit out of here. Mustard all day, every day for me. And now I went to Trader Joe's the other day because my other food mediocre life update, a coworker of mine bakes sourdough. So she makes all these sourdough and she sells them in the office. And I bought one of her loaves of sourdough bread. And I was like, you know what? I got it here in office. I'm just going to run across the street to Trader Joe's and just get deli meat for the week. And I got like a really nice thing of mayo. Man, that shit is so good. Putting mayo on a sandwich like the right mayo, the right amount can really change your day. So Alex, I'm very happy that
Right
you've
amount.
added this.
That was an important addition you just did right there. The right
Yeah.
amount is a very important part of this.
I don't need people eating their sandwiches to have fucking mayo mustache. Like, get that shit out of here.
Yeah.
Greg, do you remember one time we were in high school? I think our substitute teacher's name was Miss Claiborne. This
Oh,
old,
yeah.
small black lady. And for some reason, I think she's this little old lady, like Harriet Tubman. Like, think of that. Like, picture Harriet Tubman. That's kind of who this lady is.
Okay.
And the substitute teacher, and I mean, she definitely had a lunch break, but I don't know why. Whatever reason, in the middle of class, and sometimes with subs they're just like, here, just go, here's some work, go do it,
Yeah.
whatever. And so I think me and Greg happened to just notice her, like, kind of looking around, see if anyone's paying attention. She dips down to the right, like kind of like just under like the bridge of the desk, and she pulls her bag up to her mouth, and then she reaches in, takes this big bite, like she thinks she's doing it very discreetly, and then turns around to the back of the class, and there is just a big ass piece of like turkey and mayo just on like the side of her mouth. And I don't think she knew for a little bit. It's what I've never forgotten that image to this day. And Greg, by your laughter, I can tell you know what I'm talking about as well.
I've never
forgotten.
Also the fact that you said she looked exactly like Harriet Tubman.
I don't know how else to paint a picture of this.
You're
movie, right.
You're right.
Yeah.
You're 100% right, which is why it was so
Harriet Tubman
funny.
cosplay. That's the only thing I can think of.
That's good. That's good.
All right, let's wrap this up here. This is good. All right, Greg, I'm in on mediocre life update. This will be a recurring segment here, so we'll have more on this. I'm gonna get us some mediocre theme music to go along with it. As I mentioned, we're likely going to be on a Sunday, Wednesday schedule for this week. Monday will likely be the next time that we come on, so we can talk a little bit about Pats, Bills, and whatever happens there. But this has been a fun one. Sox Yankees game 3 tomorrow. Make sure you go lock in. And as always, appreciate you guys joining us. For myself, I'm Will. We've got Greg. We've got Alex Gonzalez, the producer. We will catch you guys later. Peace.